Hello, everyone. I am Cartoon Kitsune, and today I will be doing yet another therapy session with my gal Minty the rabbit. Before we get started and do our intros, though, I just want to do like kind of a quick little disclaimer thing because in this particular episode, we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of like mental health stuff, a specific disorder we're going to be discussing extensively. And I just want to give my little disclaimer. I am not a psychologist. I am not a medical professional. I have done as much research as I can so that I can properly convey all the information we're going to be discussing, be as accurate as possible. But just know that do not take like what I say as gospel or anything. Like I'm doing the best I can. But if you like have like any legitimate like problems or like you think you might, or if anything we talk about today resonates with you or anything like that, please go to an actual doctor. Do not ask us because we are just the funny internet people with the cartoons and the dice and whatnot.
Our job is to do the hee-hees and the ha-has.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking
And
of the funny,
occasionally a big sob.
speaking of the funny internet people,
Only the big sob.
how about you guys introduce yourselves? We'll just start from the top if that's cool with you guys. Right?
Sure, that's Mod.
Yep.
Oh, it is. I can see things with my eyes. Hello, it's me, it's Mod. I haven't played for a very long time because I got burned out, but I'm back and I'm excited to be here. I am playing the engineer.
Who everyone knows and loves and is well known even outside of Dodo Studios, but here in Dodo Studios, he's one of the big two, so everybody knows him. I'm Snailcomiz. I am playing Snalien, she, they, and they're just a funky little space snail. I don't know what else to tell you. They're funky little space snail. Oh, they're so small. They fit into your hand. If you have a bigger hand, they fit into your palm of your hand. If you have a smaller hand, they fit into the entirety of your hand. They're like a Larry Palm size, and they're so small.
They're just a little snail friend. They're so small.
They're little. They're little.
Yeah. Alright. So this game is actually kind of a follow-up to a previous game that Snail and I did, where as a short recap, Minty and Snalien went to the library. As Minty had never been to the one in Toontown, there was a whole lot of discussion on psychology, what it is, and Snalien was kind of thinking, sort of not so subtly implying that she thinks she might have like some form of mental disorder, that as Minty was telling her about that and how those function. And so following that, and actually also Snail was kind of Snalien was kind of implying she might have some a lot of stuff about her past that she's kind of not talked about that might kind of be contributing to that as well. So basically, Minty like she made here a talk, and Minty also asked if she could possibly pass along some of this information to the engineer, which Snalien agreed to. So I think presumably Minty kind of like sort of recap this whole like what they talked about to engineer briefly. I don't know if Snalien was there for that or if just Minty and engineer talked. Either way, that information was conveyed. So I think we're gonna start off. And also, I think like whenever Minty would have talked to engineer, she kind of she pretty much like told him like, hey, if you or Snalien like want to come do a session with me, I will be more than happy to talk to you guys, but I'll leave to the both of you to decide if you want to do that or not. So that's kind of where we are currently. So I think we're going to start off with kind of Snalien and engineer, maybe talking about this. I'll leave it to you guys to establish like kind of where they are. I figure this takes place like maybe like a few days after that FPS at most. So
Interesting. I was thinking that Snalien was gonna dawdle a long time, not like months.
right.
But like
Yeah.
Minty is sort of expecting within a couple of days, and Snalien's like, it's been a month and I still haven't yet talked about it.
Yeah, it's fair. I figure we can kind of skew the time a little because like, it's been a really long time, but like I think like maybe like a few weeks would. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a clash of personalities there though, because if engineer has in any way been informed about this, he's the kind of guy who wants to get things over with. So
Right.
maybe Snalien would have done it for months, but I feel like there would be a time limit cap because her dad, adopted dad,
Right.
and vice versa, would probably just be kind of like, so about the whole conversation with Minty. Do you want to do something about that maybe this week?
So within the week of talking to the engineer, sort of when he's like, okay, but can we do it right now? Am I hearing it right? Okay, that's actually perfect.
Yeah, well, he wants to solve the problem. I'm afraid he's not a patient man. He's also very concerned because he's going to immediately be like, oh shit, I fucked up, because he doesn't bug people about their pasts. A lot of actors go into acting to forget about their past or to move away from it. So he's quite used to people not, telling them about themselves, and that's fine with him. Like, you go at your own speed and he won't interfere, but this is a child that he's responsible for, and he's like, oh, I should do something about this. Yes.
I mean, that's just perfect, because that just that just shows Snalien tendency would have been to sort of like wait, maybe even take like a whole month, maybe a couple of weeks, and then the engineer comes in like 3 days later, like T-posing over the entire screen like, I need to fix this.
I'm so sorry that it's true.
No. Don't be sorry. The contrast is tasty.
I mean, I like that Snail would take her time, because Snalien is a snail. It's a snail alien. Would be slow. So let's say it's a happy medium of like a week and a half afterwards. I feel like
that's very patient for NG. That is very patient. That is more than long enough.
He's trying his best.
Right. I feel like Minty might have also mentioned like hey, maybe give her a little bit of time to kind of consider it, and she'll know when she's ready. But also, if you need to like kind of like if you think she's like hesitating a little too much, like that kind of thing. Like, be patient, but like that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
he keeps doing the sad puppy look, but by accident, sort of like.
Oh no!
With the ears.
Oh, the droopy ears. Oh.
Devastating.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not doing a good job. I want to do a good job. Let me do a good job.
You're doing an amazing job, Dad. This is just deep stuff. I think probably when engineer is sort of like, hey, do you want to talk about that whole thing with Minty? Snalien is probably like on a piece of paper, like using their goo to try and draw something. And at times they can get really detailed, but right now they're basically just finger painting. It's very much more sensation than precision. And they sort of like go from like painting to sort of like smooshed on the page, like, oh yeah, that thing.
So is that a no?
Think as the helmet lands on the page. I'm sorry, the Snellman.
He's just gonna wait. He's just gonna wait until like the child has extracted themselves from the goo, because he's not wanting to rush this, but he's also like, it's been a while.
Snalien definitely spends at least like 30 seconds continuing the but I'm not gonna subject you to that because that's a heck of a while. Snalien doesn't like fully extract himself from the goop, but you can see like within the Snellmet, which of course is full of goo, because the like normal place that air would come out is currently covered by goo. You see like little air bubbles coming up to the stem holes, and then when they pop open, it says Snalien words. So like one comes up and Snalien's like, I mean, I guess we probably should talk about it. Another one winds up the other stem. And like, I definitely do want to talk about it. I trust you, Dad. So it's not like there's a problem or anything. It's just like another one slowly goes to the goop. So there's like a good 5 seconds of waiting before another sentence comes through. It's just like, I mean, it could be kind of busy. So like, I just didn't want to bother you. Like, you know. If we gotta wait, that is totally fine.
I think Engineer waits until he's absolutely sure that that was the last bubble. He loves how disgusting his child is, like genuinely. Finds her fascinating, absolutely. And he sort of, I am never too busy for my children, and I never want you to ever feel that I am. I'm very sorry if that's part of this problem. Is it? You can be honest with me. I won't be cross.
No, of course not. I know that you make time for us. Snalien very slowly starts slinking back up. It's like they're sitting hunched over more than fully laid down at this point, but they're still very, like, in the goo. And they're like, I know you make time for us, so I know if it was like an urgent thing, I know you would have instantly hopped on it because you're a great dad. You're an amazing dad. Don't think that's not this. That points at one direction is not this. Points in an entirely different direction. And then goes back to like pushing their nubbins together. It's not that. It's that it's important, but it's not urgent. So like urgent things have to come first, and you're starting to slowly prepare for thinking about another movie, and you're like working on the script. That takes a lot of brain power, and I couldn't just walk in on that.
Can I just say, like, whilst this conversation has been happening, the engineer has been doing the sort of nodding, but sliding his hand underneath the piece of paper to lift up the piece of paper and, like, start carrying Snail towards Minty's office.
You are perfect and an angel.
Like
you have read the situation correctly.
Yes. Perfect.
Yes, good, okay.
Just picks up child, walks away.
Angie, you say you're not good at this, and yet...
And yet...
He's had a little bit of practice with children and grandchildren, but like he is constantly worried about doing a bad job, and he had the whole empty nest syndrome after his kids left, and that was not good for him. And yeah, he worries about being a good dad, especially with the his partner and that whole complicated situation. Anyway, they arrive at the door, and he says, "I'll just stop you there for a moment, just so I can knock on the door."
Oh yeah, totally. Go ahead and knock on the door. So anyway, like, there's a difference between urgent and important. So, like, I wanted to make sure that we prioritize urgent. This is Minty's office.
Aye, that it is.
And,
oh.
So, real quick thing out of characters. So, do we want, like, right now to be, like when they start the session, or is this I'm scheduling the session? Because there is a small thing I do want to kind of take care of that we sort of discussed earlier, like a thing, like just Minty and Angie were going to talk about. Remember that thing?
I could say you could go ahead and slip that on in, and then we can get on to the, like, session in quotation marks.
Right, I think that'll work. Okay, so yeah, so you knock on the door.
We can do a cutaway to a previous scene if you need that.
Oh, that's perfect.
I think I've got something. So yeah, so you knock on the door, and just a second. You hear kind of muffled behind the door, and then opens up, and ta-da! There's Minty. Oh, hi Angie, hi Snalien. What can I help you with?
It's a bit that slightly overdue conversation that Snalien here was wanting to have with you. I'm just here to be a support act. I'm not going to interfere more than I have to, but really being her carer.
Oh, that's perfect. I was actually hoping you guys might come by sometime this week. So let me see. And she kind of pulls a clip. Actually, let me do a hammer space for this, because she pulls out her clipboard. All right.
Yep.
Hang
oh
on,
no.
Hang it. Was it slash roll?
Oh, dice pause has died.
Yeah, that was the...
I can roll a real dice if you want.
Yeah, that's cool. Just like a d10.
Yeah. Hang on, let me get a real dice for you. What's that, a d10?
This purser's alive?
A 5!
Alright, well, we got a 5 and a 3,
rolls.
so...
It's a 3!
Yeah, well, either way, that's
well,
not a
they're
one,
both a pass,
so,
aren't they?
So yeah, she pulls her clipboard
Yeah,
out.
they both pass.
Yeah.
Alright, let's see here. Devices on that hour. So oh, here we go. Looks like I got an opening tomorrow. Would that be good for you guys?
It'll
I
be
mean,
perfect for me. How about you, Snalien?
I mean, there's the talk of like the distance and like the I mean prioritizing the it is fine for Snalien hems and haws for quite some time, but
Uh,
I again I'm not gonna put you guys through this because
of
we haven't
course.
we haven't pointed this. But Snalien hems and haws and then admits no, they don't really have any conflicts.
Yeah, Minty just very patiently
Mhm.
listens, like she does whenever Staley rambles like this. She'll just pencil them in. All right, yeah, it sounds like a plan. Oh, actually, while I've got you guys here, Snail, would it be okay if I talk to your dad for just a moment?
Yeah, he very important guy, of course. Do you want me to like to stay in the room or leave the room?
Oh, actually, how about you, go down to the kitchen for a bit? I think Marcel was making some cookies earlier. Maybe you could grab one for yourself and a couple for us.
Zoom. Snalien is no longer in the frame. There is a snail-shaped cloud that
Snalien
dissipates
manages.
behind.
I feel like Snalien somehow magically turns the piece of paper into a paper airplane and just rides it.
Yes, perfect.
Oh, that's even better. So of course that happens naturally.
Just like fold it into a paper plane in midair and just zoom, go down the hall.
They provide the
Well, I
propulsion.
suppose that's one way to clear the air. Should I be feeling nervous?
Oh, no, not at all. There's just something I wanted to ask about before we have our consultation, and she'll kind of gesture for NG to come into the office and shut the door behind them just so they can talk privately. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Engineer is going to roll. What would it be? Would it be performance or deception? Like
Well,
to
if he's
disguise
trying-
how anxious he is.
I'd say if he's trying to hide how anxious he is, it'd probably be deception. So.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad. That's a +5. I'll probably roll a complete dunker though. Having said that, come on, dice passer. We believe in
Parser.
you. Live, damn you, live.
Parser.
Okay, so what you gotta do is /R,
Oh yeah, that's
and
right.
then it'll let you type in the dice.
That's right. Parser like changed their whole thing.
Oh.
So it's like /R. Hang on. Let me test this out.
D20 +5.
And then you get like the R command, like the thing will pop up. There it is. Okay.
Brilliant.
Hey, okay. Well, 12. That's about as crap as I would expect. Yeah, it's not amazing.
Let me just
He's
roll Minty's
notably.
insight. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
No, that's not the right one. Hold on.
You can do it, dice parser. We believe.
We
Okay.
believe in you.
Oh wow.
Clap your hands. Yeah, you beat it.
14.
Definitely.
Alright.
14.
She definitely knows.
Yeah, he's doing his best to calm, but like his orange is fluctuating a little bit, and you know, if you had been more perceptive, you would have noticed that it sort of has the same rhythm as a rapid heartbeat. He's quite nervous.
Oh, funny. It's all right. If you need a moment to just take a deep breath, don't worry. It's. I'm not gonna grill you for information or anything.
Nervous? Who's nervous? I'm not nervous. I'm terrified. Actually, what's this about?
Well, it's just something I kind of wanted to ask you about before I'd have to ask Snalien about, since it's kind of a potentially sensitive topic.
Well, go ahead.
So you remember sort of a little bit of what I talked about our conversation at the library. I just want to ask you, has Snalien ever told you anything about? She kind of gestures vaguely. Before you met her, so to speak.
Barely anything. Maybe I should have asked, but I don't like to ask about people's past. If I tend to leave it up to them to tell me.
She kind of nods at that, like, yeah, no, that's understandable. The only reason I bring it up is because I sort of noticed during my conversation with Snalien, she seemed to be kind of avoiding that particular topic, and typically when a kid is avoiding talking about stuff like that, like their previous family life or something like that, it well, you can imagine it can kind of have certain implications.
I am aware of that. He's scratching the underside of his chin in a sort of, there's certain parts of my family life past that I don't talk about too openly. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I just kind of want to ask, like, to see if you knew anything about it. Mostly because, again, this is a sensitive topic, and if it does come up, um, it might be a little bit difficult for her to talk about. I was kind of getting the sense that she might have been sort of preparing herself to talk about this, again, because she sort of kept it kind of close to the chest. So I just wanted to kind of check in with you on that.
Well, I have to say, I feel a little sheepish about it, but I have no clue what happened to Snalien before he came to live with me.
Right. Well, I suppose depending on how the consultation goes tomorrow, we might end up learning a little bit more. Then again, it's all up to Snalien. Usually with these kinds of things, it's sort of better to let the kid talk about it when they feel comfortable, you know? So we'll just see how it goes. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, Angie's just nodding.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for
Ooh.
me before just kind of prep for the session or
Yeah, he thinks about that for a solid few moments. He's like, is there anything in particular that I should not do? Even if instinctually it seems like a good thing to do, because I am not famous for making clever decisions on the moment. Sometimes my anger might get the better of me and I don't want to scare her, we might.
She thinks for a moment and then she replies, let's see. Well, typically, the few times I've technically only once before I've been able to have a session with the parent and the child, with Bob and Tally when I've seen them. Typically, the way we run those is I tend to focus more on Tally and talking to her, while Bob is a bit more quiet in the background. He's of course allowed to talk during the whole thing, but thing is to be more of a sort of supporting presence and make sure you're not talking over your kid. Because, again, the focus of the session is on them and helping them out. So.
Okay, keep stum. I've got it.
And again, like I said, you're not forbidden from talking or anything. Just, make sure you don't, like, accidentally talk over her, that sort of thing.
I'll do my best. I have played silent roles before, so I'll just try to keep that in mind.
And she kind of laughs at that. Like, yeah. Alright. I think around that time would probably be Snalien, just just suddenly comes back in a moment of comedic timing. Like, I'll leave that up to you, Snail.
Oh yeah, totally. Stallion definitely like slides back in on the paper airplane and goes, Marcel threw me this time. Isn't his aim so amazing? I mean, I did have to redirect it like a little bit, but like it was entirely Marcel. Anyway, I got cookies. And we could probably like jump cut immediately from
there. Yeah, we fade out on that, yeah. And, we sort of cut up over to the next day. So yes. So I think so certain parts of this, I think the consultation part we can kind of gloss over because there's a lot of like technical stuff and we don't need to do a whole thing. So let me actually post a quick thingy here.
We love thingies.
Ooh. Content?
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna post this in
our
like,
content
our little PM
in
chat.
this Dodo Studios.
Right.
Couldn't possibly be.
So yeah, so don't say what that was just in the recording because like that's gonna be a thing to reveal later. But yeah. So what I've given
a secret tool that will help us later.
Exactly. So yeah. So what I've got for you guys is it's kind of like a little questionnaire basically that just kind of a general idea of like some of the questions Minty might be asking. But so the way this consultation will pretty much work is that Snail and an engineer in the room, and Minty's going to be just kind of doing like a whole interview, like just asking them all these different questions. And mostly it's going to kind of focus on like Snalien's day-to-day life, like her home life, things at school, like how she's been doing at school, any problems there. And she might also bring up like have there ever been like any incidents like at school where like maybe she got in trouble for something, that kind of thing. And let's see. I'll give you guys like a moment or two to kind of read over the list if you want to like get a like glance over that.
I mean, I don't want to read it too deeply because I work best by letting engineer do the improv for me because I am like that.
Exactly.
But
This is just kind of
I get
like
this.
just sort of like a general
Do
like
understand
thing.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Right.
Wish I'd been asked some of these when I was a kid, honestly.
Yeah. No. No. For real.
Me three. I'm totally fine over here. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, no, me too.
Um,
Yeah, see,
Pat you
meanwhile, I'm
gently.
at the camp where like a lot of this is kind of familiar to me because I actually got tested for something like this when I was a kid. So so yeah,
God, I
exactly.
wish
Yeah,
that were me.
yeah, no, really. So yeah.
All right, I think I'm pretty good.
All right.
Yep.
So yeah, I think so. Like basically, she talks about like for the beginning of the session, I think she's kind of more sticking to this kind of present day stuff, like before they get into really like heavy backstory stuff. But she's just talking about like like how like she is at like home and school. I think they focus on school a little bit more because that can be kind of where this sort of thing can kind of manifest. Like does she get along with the other kids? Is she like able to pay attention in class? Does she ever have trouble focusing on her homework? That kind of thing.
So I think sort of the story that starts unfolding is for the diagnosis that Minty sort of has a hypothesis on. There's sort of like a traditional way it presents, and then there are other ways that it absolutely presents, but isn't sort of the stereotypical traditional way.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of the things that Snalien sort of talks about does not fit in with the sort of traditional formula. Snalien is very good at interacting with other classmates. Snalien oftentimes is really communicative and works well with the teacher. So there's not a bunch of some of the more traditional symptoms, but as Minty very carefully continues asking questions, things start coming up like, well, yeah, they do constantly feel kind of like they want to be going everywhere at once. Yeah, sometimes the teacher has to remind them that this is sitting time. Yeah, they are constantly forgetting where pens and pencils are, and it's sort of why they really love having the hammer space, because before they had access to the hammer space, when everything was in space, it was constantly having little bits of stuff floating around, but sometimes they lose stuff in their hammer space. And it just sort of comes down to things like that, where it's sort of just along the spectrum of normalcy, but because Minty knows sort of what she's looking for, it's less abnormal, but more slowly indicating a pattern, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, exactly. I get what you mean. So it just kind of like little details that, which of course she's noting down in her clipboard. And there's also the fact that like kind of Minty's sort of seen Snalien, like observed Snalien around the studio just as she's like been passing by, or like whenever she goes like to say hi to her, or sees her interacting with people. So she kind of has like that information drawn as well. This is just kind of more detailed stuff, like stuff Minty isn't around for. So either way, she's getting like a whole lot of very good information. And I think she probably
Can I put in a slightly comical note?
Oh, of course, please
Always.
do. Yes.
Well, if Engie is like, he's just sitting in the background, basically letting them talk, but he's listening to these questions, and he just thinks that, Snalien is a perfectly normal child, because, he often fidgets and often leaves his seats in situations and climbs on things and is on the go, driven by a motor, and talks excessively and often interrupts people, and it's like, yeah, he's just a normal person.
That is
Does
very,
not
that's
join the dots
very, very
at all.
interesting. Thank you for telling us that, Mod.
Yeah. Well, you know.
I know. Boy, do I know.
Boy, do you know.
Right.
Anyway,
We are
that's all
having
I'm saying.
fun
He
in
doesn't
this
even say it.
FPS.
Yes.
We are having fun in this FPS.
It's just the three of us like collectively cackling because we know things that the audience does not know yet. All right. But I think also because again the focus is more on like asking ceiling questions, but I think at one point Minty's also like asking Engineer about some of the stuff, like sort of his perspective on this kind of thing. like how she does at school, or like taking care of her homework at home, like that kind of things, or like how she interacts at home, just to gather like more information on this sort of thing. So
And
Yeah, I
definitely
think he would
Go
relate
ahead.
accurately what. Yeah, I think he would relate accurately what he's experienced. However, there is a sort of constant beaming pride about it all. So
Aw.
there's like such joy and adoration of this beautiful creature that has agreed to be adopted by him. That there's almost like a filter.
Yeah, that whole proud
Because
parent
of that.
thing, definitely. Actually, while he's
Yeah,
like kind of
there's
like
nothing
gushing
wrong.
about Snail a little bit, roll an insight on Minty.
Ooh, free insight.
Oh,
Yeah.
whoa, insight. That's a +5. Got to go. Oh, I have to learn how to do the thing, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's
R
/R, and then like the command
yeah,
list will pop up.
/R and then D. Oh God, my brain is having to remember more than one thing. That's hard.
You're doing
Okay,
amazing,
that's
sweetie.
not amazing. 12.
All right.
In the
Yeah.
middle-ish.
Okay, Snalien, do you
Feels
want to do
right.
it as well? You can both roll
Oh,
this.
I didn't know that I could get one as well. This I
Yeah, this
love
is
I
just
love
kind of
doing
like this is kind of a
things.
side thing,
Whoa.
so just kind of cute little side thing. So
Uh, frick, I gotta remember what my insight is too. I've been paying attention.
it's all good, no worries.
We're learning how to play the game again. It's fine.
All right, 14.
Another 14. This is crazy. Dice Parser wants us to have 2 rolls.
I guess so. All right, so yes, I say Snalien kind of picks up on this slightly more than NG, but I think you both kind of pick up on this. So of course, like when running a session like this, Minty has to stay very, professional and calm, and kind of that therapy demeanor. But you can kind of notice like she's kind of sort of holding something back, and what she is holding back is just like she's just like so dang happy to see this, just NG like gushing about his kid, like being so proud about it, like it's the kind of thing where like she looks at you, she's like, "Oh, that's so nice." Exactly.
He is
that
the guy
emote.
that has the infinite number of photographs in his wallet, of
Exactly.
hundreds of
Exactly.
photos.
Because as I will remind the audience, Minty, well, she hasn't really gotten to like speak to many parents. She's only kind of seen the aftermath, and of course, she knows full well that like the kids who visit Blissland, like not all of them have parents who like aren't so great, but she has met a lot of kids who haven't had very good parents. So just seeing one who's just like talking to someone, and like seeing he's just like so enthusiastic about his kid and just loves her so much, like so clearly. It's just like this kind of thing where she's just like, that's just such an awesome thing. Like
They're all babies, Your Honor.
they are.
Yeah.
I hold our characters so gently.
It gets
I love
notably
them.
warmer in the room as
Yes.
Angie keeps talking, like,
Aw.
Angie's glowing the whole time, so like he has to sort of take a minute to cool down so he doesn't burn Snalien or something.
Snalien's used to it. Snalien very carefully made sure that they have a code word for if it starts getting too uncomfy for Snalien, and they've used the word so NG knows that they'll use it. NG still is precautious because he's a good dad. He's a good dad.
He is
Yeah.
such a good dad.
He's doing his best.
Cannot
He's
overstate this
flawed in so
enough.
many ways, but no, it's canonical. He loves his kids.
All right. So anyways, I think we've gotten kind of past that part. So I think Minty's kind of like, all right, I think I've got some pretty good information here. One more thing. So, kind of the next part of this. Just let me preface this. It's okay if you don't feel comfortable talking about this part yet. We don't have to rush it. We don't have to do everything in this session. If you need like a couple of sessions to talk about stuff, that's fine. So I kind of want to ask you a little bit about so now that I know all about your life, kind of with your dad here and Adodo Studios and all that, I was wondering, because I've been a little bit curious about sort of what kind of life you might have had before you came to this planet here.
There is a notable pause. And I hate to say it, but it's kind of tragic to see because as Snalien's been talking and receiving positive reception both from NG and although Minty is trying to stay professional, she's still very pleased with what's going on.
Absolutely.
They've definitely been doing this sort of like really animated stuff, like waving around their nubbins and like pointing at things. and chit-chattering away. You guys notice anytime that somebody else talks up, she immediately cuts off. But she's very amenable, and honestly, this is kind of fun getting to brag about what goes on with school. I mean, yeah, she forgets homework for like 2 weeks at a time, but then in one night she'll just get through the entire rest of the semester, just boom, 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 boom. All of the papers, all of the homework. And then the rest of the semester she gets to just talk with the teacher and help Shorts Kid and blah 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 blah.
Right. But anyway, getting back to this thing. So she goes kind of quiet, like when this is brought up. Is that it?
Oh yeah, totally. It's not as stark as it could be, but there's a definite difference in like coloration and speed of talking. The moment that Minty asks about life before Inkwell. And Snalien goes right back to sort of like pressing their nubbins together, which by now Minty will very much know is definitely like a nervous sort of action, sort of like self-soothing thing that Snalien does.
Yeah, I don't know if stimming would be the right word, but like maybe kind of similar to that, if that makes sense.
Definitely similar, if not straight up.
Right,
It's definitely just something Snalien does that, like, when they're nervous, they start pressing their nubbins together, and, like, they definitely, like, look away when before they'd been totally, like, looking directly at Minty. But, valiantly, they say, yeah, there definitely was stuff that happened in space. I mean, like, obviously, the thing with me meeting Gregory, but that was fine, because I just had to, like, outkind his grumpy and make him know that things were actually good, even though he was a little stuck up back then. He's much better now. You guys know Gregory. You guys know he's amazing and the bestest. And there was stuff like that where I had a long time in the spaceship, just sort of doing my own thing. And like, I definitely would like to eventually create a spaceship so that I can let Shorts Kid and Two Kid hang around in space, but I sort of don't want to go back to the first planet I was at.
And Minty kind of nods, like, right, that's
permission to roll insight?
Permission granted.
Right. Actually,
permission to have advantage.
Yeah.
Oh, exciting. This is almost more specifically to be, like, what would be helpful for him to do right now for Snalien.
Ooh, that's a nat 20.
A nat 20, baby.
Oh, dang.
I think I'll use that one, actually.
Dad.
What would be good for Engineer to do to emotionally support Snalien right now? Like, is there something physical he could do? Or say...
So definitely one of the things with Snalien is sometimes they know that the world is big, but they're also very light. So sometimes they describe having times where everything feels sort of floaty, even though gravity is present, because they're so used to feeling floaty, is what they tell people. Implications. But oftentimes when that sort of thing happens, the thing that they want is pressure without crushing. So what they've told the engineer is one of the most helpful things when they start like getting really in their head and in their space is taking his hand, sort of like putting one finger over the top of their snellmet and the other two along their shell, and just gentle pressure where it's less pressing and more just like a weighted blanket. But of course, Snalien is small enough that is effectively the size of a weighted blanket. And even though
it's really funny you should say that. I was about to say that, but then I was like, I should do an insight roll because sometimes touchy no good. So yeah, he does that.
There's definitely times that Snalien is like, no touch me, but it's far more often that they want physical comfort. So they've sort of worked out with the engineer that, like, if they're in a place where it's no touch me, they're very careful to, like, just go ahead and say that. And as long as Train Dad isn't mad about that, then they're perfectly fine with first initiating contact rather than asking. It's kind of funny because they sort of have this tendency when asked stuff to deny it, even if they want the stuff. Wonder where that could come from.
That is very interesting. Right. So I think Minty kind of
Anyway, you got the
Right.
heated electric pressure blanket, and yeah, Minty may continue. Sorry.
No, you're fine, Mod. You're fine. Yeah. So we have Snalien being gently squished. So yeah, I think Minty kind of goes into
Right, and the reason I ask about this is because, not to call you out or anything, but I have noticed you have been kind of avoiding, that particular topic, and, in my line of work, that can, kind of indicate a few things. And, again, I just want to let you know, you can say no to answer to any of the questions I ask you about, this topic if you don't feel, comfortable talking about it. So just know this is a safe place. And, you can talk about whatever you want to or not want to. So I just want to let you know that, all right?
Yeah, I get that. I promise.
Okay, she nods.
Alright, so you mentioned, the planet you came from. Was there anything in particular you didn't like about, being there that you feel comfortable sharing with us?
There is definitely a even significantly longer pause. I'm afraid this is gonna probably tread all over poor NG's frantic nerves because the silence is far more extensive than Snalien normally even allows, much less initiates.
I think the Minty will also like kind of mention like
It's okay if you need a moment to think or just kind of process things. We don't have to go super fast through all this. If you just need a quiet moment or two, that's okay too.
Eventually, again, probably, sorry, NG, but long after NG would be comfortable with ending the silence, eventually Snalien does go, I mean, it's just like there were a lot of people, but there weren't a lot of friends. So, like, there's no reason to go back there because I already took the stuff that I gotta have.
she kind of nods at that.
So, are you saying you felt lonely when you were back on that planet?
You start seeing her lip wobble a little bit.
honey.
Congratulations, Minty. You have hit the nail upon the head.
Oh, buddy. I think Minty just kind of like just like calmly hands her like a tissue because she has the tissue box on like her table or whatever, and hands it to her.
I think what
Tissue
Snalien
is like
does
the
is
size of a tent.
Exactly.
oh yeah, totally.
Actually,
Snalien, like,
Minty like she takes the tissue out of the box and just kind of like rips off a corner of it so it's Snalien sized.
that's so cute. I was gonna say, if she got the full-size tissue, what Snalien would have done is just started shoving it into her helmet so that, like, her entire face is covered.
Oh, honey. Oh.
But Snalien does, like, shove it in her helmet, take it back out, it's covered in goo. Of course, nothing looks different within the helmet.
Of course.
Snalien is constantly generating goo.
Yeah.
But Snailien does seem to feel better, but again, it's very different from the way that Snailien normally behaves because they are not making eye contact, and
Right.
Snailien knows eye contact is a big thing in Inkwell, so it's kind of sometimes almost intense how often Snailien will make eye contact.
Not
For the
with
most
Dad.
part,
He don't got none.
he don't got none.
Yeah.
But he'll always like look him in the face.
Yeah.
And right now they are very solidly looking at that speck of dust on the ground, far away from everybody's gazes.
Yeah.
Alright. Yeah, I'm actually thinking like would NG like kind of say like anything in regards to this? Because again, he's allowed to talk, so if he wants to say anything, like.
I don't think he would, but he would definitely give her a kiss.
Aww.
Just a big, warm, snuffly sort of, I'm sorry I didn't ask about this sooner kiss.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you're rewarded with another batch of tears, and Snalien, like, sort of not desperately. Who am I kidding? Desperately grabbing onto Angie's sort of beak, and snuffling, like not full on crying after the first moment,
Right.
but definitely like, please don't go farther, stay right here.
Oh, he stayed right there. I feel like Snalien must be on a table, right? Because she's so tiny.
Right.
So yeah, and she's just gonna put his head on the table like the dog does in therapy, animal training, and just stays. He's a good boy.
He's a good dad.
He's gonna have a crick in his neck later, but he does not care.
If
Sorry, Angie, you'll get to sleep normally tomorrow.
Yeah. Again, Minty's like just seeing this whole like this like precious display, and she's just like desperately trying to keep her professional like demeanor throughout all this. Oh.
Minty is gonna get some hugs after this.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
they're gonna be hugs and snugs, snail hugs.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think like Minty just kind of like gives, because like when she sees Snalien reacting like this, she just kind of like gives her like a moment to calm down. Like if you need to cry, then cry, like that sort of thing. Like she's not gonna rush her like with the questions. I think once Snalien's had a moment to kind of like calm down a little and let that pass. She says something like
See, well, feeling lonely like that never feels very good, does it? Especially when you're around a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Mhm. And I'm very sorry to hear that you felt that way back then.
I mean, it wasn't your fault. It's like, I didn't want to really talk about it because nobody can do anything about it because it's so far back. So, like, why bring everybody down when I've got everything I need here now?
I think Minty like she might even kind of like reach over and like kind of like give her a little pet, like
Shh. It's okay, sweetie. It's okay. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with wanting to talk about this, and it sounds like you've kind of been holding this in for quite a while, haven't you?
Like there was the stuff with the train, and then there was the follow-up to the train. Then it was all quiet, so it was quiet. You can't bother Larry about it because he's got his own floppy. Charlie's always good, but there's so much. So, like, how can a thief steal through all of that? Shorsky's got their own stuff, like Toonkind, and Dad's making movies and then figuring out romance, and romance is really hard. So, like, there's just all these stuff, so there's no real need to go back into all this.
oh honey.
Everything is
Throughout all of that, Angie was going grayer and grayer and feeling really sad, and then there's this enormous blush that just leaps onto his face, completely unexpected. Just like, oh god.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
It's definitely a moment that Snalien is like, Dad, you gotta not blame yourself for it. Like, Minty said I wasn't talking about it, so don't think that I wasn't talking about it. Like they're unable to talk fully through all of the warbling.
I know,
but they've already sensed that
Engie talk pretty much.
Yeah, but they've already sensed that Engie is like had the tendency or the impulse to blame themselves. Yeah. Snalien often is sort of very perceptive of other people's moods, even as it's sort of hard for them to regulate their own. So even in the moments of like selfishness that they legitimately do have, it's like they've sort of got a constant monitor on everybody else in the room, and they don't like it when other people have to be upset. So the moment that they're like, oh no, but Angie can't possibly think that this is his fault. It's not his fault.
Right.
They're immediately like, again, warbling through tears because this is very emotional for them. Going, but you can't blame yourself, Dad. This is not your fault.
I will say a quick little thing, before, like, just quick out of character thing. At this point, Minty's been in Igual for long enough that she's probably heard about the whole taffy train debacle by now, right? Like somebody's at least
Oh,
mentioned it to her
absolutely,
passing.
yeah.
I don't know if she's heard all of the details. I mean, granted, she's at Dodo Studios, and heck, it might have come up in somebody's session at some point. But she knows the gist of what happened with that. She might not know about.
I have a feeling that through various sources you will have heard of that. Yeah,
definitely.
for sure.
At minimum, she knows that there was a murder and there was a train explosion, and of course she knows that engineer disappeared for that 2 days because that's kind of relevant to her whole thing. So at the very least, she knows the gist of that whole situation.
Yeah.
And that there was a situation where basically there was this huge disaster, and at the time, he had adopted them fully yet, but their father figure pretty much just disappeared for 2 days, after this horrible thing happened. And so yeah, it's kind of a shameful that Snalien kind of had to she didn't really have time to kind of process that. And I think Minty might have at least said as much, all right, well, after that whole thing with the train, you probably didn't have a whole lot of time to process that because you were looking after your sibling, right?
I mean, you want to talk about somebody who didn't have a whole lot of time to process that. You got to talk to Short's kid. They were having to go through so much, and they were so sad, and of course I had to put it together. I mean, Short's kid was so sad. Larry was basically not talking, and Charlie just vanished, and they're an adult, so they can take care of themselves, and blah 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 blah. Don't talk about me. Talk about everybody else.
Oh,
I don't have emotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am not young enough that other people should pay attention to my emotions so they can be the adult.
No. Right.
Right. Well, the thing is, it sounds like you're kind of reluctant to sort of share when you're not you're sort of reluctant to share when you're sort of feeling upset or when you had something kind of weighing on your mind because you were worried that it kind of, for lack of a better term, sort of weigh everybody else down as well? Is that what I'm getting from this?
I mean, yeah, being sad isn't fun, and other people gotta talk through stuff, but I'm not as smart, because smart people gotta talk through stuff, but I got it. I've been doing things, so I don't have to weigh everybody else down.
Right, and
'cause I got Gregory, and I don't really talk about the stuff with him, but we always talk about things.
right. And it also sounds to me so when your friends and your family are kind of not feeling too well, you want to be there to sort of support them and help them talk through their problems. Is that correct?
I mean, yeah, again, nobody wants to feel bad, and sometimes just listening helps, because it lets you get your thoughts out of your brain. So of course I want to help when I know that it helps.
Right. Well, do you think that since, they're your friend too, that they might want to also support you as well? And because, I mean, when you're having problems, don't you think it'd be a good idea to, let them sort of pay that back in a way? Because you want to be there for them and support them when they're feeling not so good. And in turn, I think it's good to have somebody to support you right back and to be there and listen to you when you're not feeling so well.
So in other words, she's kind of turning this on its head, well, you do this for other people, so shouldn't you let other people do this for you? What makes you so special that you can't you're not allowed to vent to people, that kind of thing.
Congratulations, you have made the snail blue screen.
Oh no, I broke the baby.
Snalien is definitely just open mouth, looking at Minty, not refuting anything, not continuing to deny stuff, not agreeing, but just
Minty just blew her mind.
Blink, blink, blink,
Yeah,
blink.
and G is a toon and has to do the joke of waving the other hand in front of Snalien's face, like
Perfect.
just to be like, hello, anybody there? Is my jaw
Amazing.
broken? What happened?
It's good. It's funny.
No, that's freaking perfect.
Yeah, but the gag happens, the gag ends, the time continues. Snalien has no response to that. You have so thoroughly shattered down an idea that they didn't even know they had, much less sort of had established as like a core idea of how you interact with people.
Mm-hmm.
They don't got nothing, Chief.
Yeah.
Welcome to therapy!
Yeah.
Yo! Finger guns all over the place.
Exactly.
Pew, 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 pew.
All right. Because we have like one more part to this whole thing. So do we want to say that like maybe they're kind of coming up on the hour at this point? Because I think if so, I think Minty's gonna kind of say,
Well, from the look of it, I think I've given you a lot to kind of think about, and looks like we're starting to come up on our hour. I think we've covered most of the stuff that I wanted to do in this particular session. So maybe it might be a good idea to kind of step away because I'm going to be needing to do a bit of work myself to compile all the information and figure out your diagnosis. So, do you think now might be a good place to end here for now?
because like she's kind of getting the sense of like
to
Snailien might need
Snailien.
some time to like just kind of process this whole like mind blowing revelation that Minty's just given her.
Mm-hmm.
Snalien like looks at Minty, looks at her dad, like, dude, should we stay? Should we? They're still 10,000% in blue screen mode. They are recovering information.
Oh,
They are preparing to restart.
They're installing updates as we speak.
I mean, I tell you what, and Engineer puts Snailien on top of his head. I think today is a hat day. You stay up there and think about it as long as you want, and I'll just go anywhere you need me to when you need me to.
... is said audibly. There is no thoughts in this bitch's brain. Bitch affectionate.
I think Engie just like kind of toon signs to Minty that like that's probably enough for today. I think.
Yeah, she kind of gives a little like kind of nubbing up because she doesn't have thumbs. Yeah, so I think she will send them off then. She will do her customary like thing at the end. She always does at the end of every session. She does like she'll offer a hug if they want one, a handshake if they don't, and a friendly goodbye if they don't want either. So again, which I'm assuming you guys are probably going to take the hug, knowing the both of you.
Oh,
Yes.
definitely, yeah.
Absolutely,
Snalien like hugs an ear,
exactly.
and that's funny because most of the time they would go for the full on hug, but
Right.
And she's right. This is a hat day. This is a hat.
I'm kind of imagining it like Minty's hugging Engie, and then her ear kind of like flops over like on top of like kind of Engie's head, and Snalien's kind of grabbing that.
Yeah.
Like that kind of pose.
I can see it. God, that's the cutest mental image.
Yeah.
Also, please know as
Thanks,
Engie walks out, Snalien has immediately gone flat.
Oh,
Oh.
honey. No thoughts become pancake.
Become pancake. It's gonna take a while to get the goo out of his feathers, but he does not care.
It's worth it, darn it. It's worth it for his baby.
Worth it. Yeah.
They're so cute.
They're
Black
so
Fuck
cute.
Monday.
All right, so I think we're gonna kind of like cut to like a sort of short little montage of because we see Minty sort of compiling all her information, her notes, and we also see her consulting the holiest of tomes, the greatest reference for information for all psychologists such as her, the holy tome known as the DSM-5. Ooh. And,
Its blessings reign
I'm
upon
gonna
us
pretend like
forever.
I know what that is.
I was actually going to explain for the audience, for those who don't know. So, in psychology, there's a book called the DSM-5, and what it is, it's basically and they're constantly updating it, of course, because, psychology, they're constantly researching, is basically pretty much just all information on different psychological disorders, what the symptoms are, how to test for it. It's basically just like each one, to my knowledge from my research, it's you have a list of symptoms and how it manifests in different people. And so you pretty much just go so if you're a psychologist like Minty and you're trying to diagnose someone, you would go into the book and you would search through it, compare the notes that you've taken on the patient in question, and that's pretty much how you figure out your diagnosis, in much simplified terms, of course. And again, I will say sort of, out of character thing that a process like this, of course, would probably take a lot longer than we're doing here. There might be in reality, you'd probably come back for a lot more tests and or might be a lot more information gathering, but for the sake of telling a story, we're kind of sort of making it a bit more short and sweet. So
It's a cartoon.
It's a cartoon. We can take liberties with this kind of stuff.
It's a cartoon.
Yeah.
It's a cartoon. Do 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 do.
Yeah. I do think
Although,
if we
I am not, alas, a cartoon.
I think
I am, alas, not a cartoon. If we're gonna keep going, can we take a 5-minute break?
okay, I think that would be a perfect time to kind of take a break, stretch, get your water, that kind of thing. So then we can.
Thank you.
All right,
All right.
one
Oh,
last
thank
scene,
you.
right?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
let's get back
Michael,
into
what
it.
is-
So, yeah, so I think it's been maybe a couple of days for Minty to do her old research thing, and so I think she probably would have just probably stop by Auntie's office and be like, hey, I got the results, so whenever you guys have time to come by my office and we can discuss this again. Yeah, so that's basically the kind of thing. So
Yep.
yeah, so we kind of hammered it that
Yeah.
we cut back to them just back in the office.
All right. So, I've got the diagnosis ready for you, and all right. So, are you guys ready to hear this?
Yes.
And she's just gonna nod because he's also his jaw is clamped shut. He's so tense, God.
Oh, buddy.
All right. Okay.
They are all observing the Minty.
Just everybody kind of holding their breath.
All right. So based on the symptoms and all the information I was collected, for Nykel, it does appear that you seem to have some case of what is called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or as it's more commonly abbreviated, ADHD. And so basically what that means is, well, you remember we were talking about in the library about the disorders and how they can affect people, that sort of general thing. Let's see.
And she's kind of flipping through her notes, kind of looking to her how best to describe this sort of thing, because they're Snalien's a child, and you want to kind of keep it in simpler terms so she can understand it better.
Huh.
Right.
Fun fact: one of engineer's ears is up, the other is down. He's never heard of ADHD.
Right. So what ADHD?
He's an old man.
Yeah.
He doesn't know about these newfangled things.
Of course, yeah. So basically, she gets to explaining.
So what ADHD is, the way it manifests, the way the disorder manifests is, typically it's when you have, well, there are there are three main ways that it can manifest. There is the inattentive presentation, which is when it's hard for you to sort of pay attention. You kind of end up daydreaming a lot. It's hard for you to pay attention in class, that is the thing. And then there's the predominantly hyperactive impulsive presentation, which is when you fidget a lot. You might sort of do impulsive things. And sort of thinking, you might be especially energetic, and
Basically, as she's listing off the symptoms for the hyperactive impulsive presentation, a lot of this is pretty much the stuff that Snalien described to her.
Uh-huh.
Almost word for word, And she also briefly mentions that there's also combined presentation, which is where it's basically kind of a little bit of both, which that's the third way it can manifest pretty much. I'm actually interested. Can I roll an insight on engineer as she's explaining this stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could totally do that.
Yeah.
I think you can, would, should, and in fact must.
Definitely. Let's get
Yeah.
that there.
I'm not even gonna roll to counter it
Okay,
in any way. I'm just gonna.
that's an 18 on the dice and a 26 total. So, yeah, how's Angie feeling
Oh,
about like hearing
yeah.
her like describe what ADHD is and the symptoms and all of that?
I mean, at first he's kind of like gently nodding along because yeah, that matches pretty much what Snalien was describing. But again, the fact that he'd been listening to that and being like, "Oh yeah, I've got all of those. That's totally normal. That she's just a normal child. She's just worried about it." The penny is starting to drop.
I just imagine
He's
Angie
just
like
kind of,
nodding
like-
along, and then like the nodding gets
Yeah.
slower and slower.
So, that's exactly what's happening, and yeah, he's just like, oh.
Yeah, by the end of this, I'm like kind of imagining, you know, that thing in like anime or whatever, where like they kind of everyone goes like completely still, and they have like the monochrome sort of like coloration. Like,
Yes.
Mhm.
like that one reaction shot, you know, the one like she looks up from her notes like as she's describing this, and like they
Yeah.
both have this exact same reaction.
Took your child to therapy to get diagnosed. Did not expect to get diagnosed yourself, did you, Dad?
Talk about Nuna reverse, am I
Uh-oh.
right?
Yeah, and this is also very funny because, as you guys may know, Engineer has an extensive family, and they are all the same.
And oh yeah, I think also
The
she
entire clan!
the whole clan. And I think like Minty also mentions that like she's mentioning a little bit more of the scientific aspect, and she probably mentions that yes, this is very often something genetic that is passed down through families. So take that as you will, Engineer.
Yeah, Engineer is just like, so if I adopted that, I can't have given it to. No, anyway.
No. Oh.
We are all observe.
Everyone just eyes emoji.
Called out.
Actually, wait. I think like if they are kind of doing like the stock still like kind of reaction shot, I think Minty kind of like stands up and just like the waves the paw in front of their faces. Like, guys, you still there?
Yes, here, definitely, that's very interesting.
And yeah, I think Minty's like she's not gonna comment on what she's noticed with Engineer, but she's definitely like actually I'm kind of wondering maybe roll insight on Minty to like see like if Engie can like see if like she's kind of picked up on this, like if they've kind of come to a similar conclusion based on his reaction.
You know what? I feel like he's in such a place right now. He's not in a state
That's
to
fair.
try and analyze. I don't think he knows exactly what's happening right now.
Gotcha. See, I think
That's a
Minty's
bit
just
beyond
gonna
him.
kind of tuck that away for later.
Yep.
It's a secret tool that will help us later.
Today is about Snalien. You can deal with
Absolutely.
the other guy later.
Yeah, no, Minty's also kind of like that too. Like they're kind of focusing on Snalien right now. Like there's this interesting little revelation about Engie, but like for now they're gonna want to focus on Snalien.
Yeah.
Well, I know this is probably a lot for you to take in. I will say though, like I was telling you again beforehand, just because you have this, it doesn't mean you can't live a perfectly happy, perfectly good life. Actually, interestingly enough, in my research, I found so it looks like 8.8% of the children in Ikewill have it, and that amounts to approximately 6.5 million. And out of character, I'm basing this on like the percentages for like American children in the current year. I figure that I can kind of like equate that to Ikewill because like I don't know the exact size of it, but just to give you a general idea.
Oh, no, I think that's right. I think we agreed that it's basically the size of North America.
Pretty much. So yeah. So basically, what she's trying to convey is that like because you have this, it doesn't mean like like a lot of other people have this. So like you're not alone in this. It's actually like 6.5 million other people have this. So like you don't have to feel alone in this. Like there's not like you're completely unique in this like strange like thing that this disorder that you have. But yeah, like once Snalien's kind of over the initial like shock of like realizing like, oh, I have this, like does she say anything? She just kind of quiet for a little while, kind of processing this.
she's not looking like nearly as devastated as when they were talking about her past, but she's definitely like nodding along, eyes just a little glassy, not upset, but definitely like, huh.
Like kind of in shock,
Oh.
maybe like not necessarily badly, just kind of like just
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
which I think is definitely kind of a mood like when you when you look up this stuff and you're like, oh, this is what I have, like that kind of moment, like when you put a name to it, that sort of thing. I think Minty also kind of mentioned in like the previous FPS, like you know, again, I'm not sure if this is the case for Snalien, but like for some people, like when you finally put a name to what's going on and up in your head, it's kind of nice that it's not this nebulous thing. It's not like this, you know, it has a name. It has like symptoms. It has like, you know, people know what it is, and that kind of makes it a little bit less scary, so to speak. So.
Definitely going to get there.
All right.
Not there presently, but going to get there. Definitely gonna help to have a name and uh and you know, ways to move forward.
Of course. Yeah, this is definitely like a kind of a good first step. So, I think like once they've kind of had a time to process this, do you think engineer would kind of like would be the one to ask like, okay, what about treatment for this, or like would maybe Minty would like bring it up like if you want to like go over like treatment options. Yeah. Either way, they kind of get onto that subject at some point.
Yeah, he mostly is trying to leave enough space for Snalien to talk, but if it's
course.
apparent, like, we're onto the actual, like, what can I, as the parent / carer of this child, do to facilitate their entire life? Because that's what I'm here for.
Exactly. And,
He's a good dad.
Right.
He's trying!
I'm very glad you asked that because actually a big part of the treatment involves the parent as well.
And she kind of like takes out like some little pamphlet she's got, and I'm gonna post this. Let's see. I think I get. I think I can post this in like the. Let me get this. Yeah. Why isn't it copying? Hold on.
Discord.
Gosh darn it.
I'm howling at the moon.
Yeah.
Sorry, technical difficulties, everybody.
The fact that Discord works at all is a miracle, but when it doesn't work, it is very annoying.
Right. Okay, yeah, so I posted that little thing in our little PM chat. You don't have to look over it right away, just at your leisure. Because she's gonna get the treatment part.
Okay.
So one option is medicine. However, because there are medicines that can sort of help with your brain chemistry. Because
and she probably like briefly explained that like in case if they wanted to know that like a lot of ADHD, the neurochemical aspect, it's a lack of like dopamine in your brain, which is sort of the pleasure center. It's like the reward system, pretty much. But like with ADHD, it isn't like kind of released properly when it's supposed to, and that's can be the cause of like quite a few of the symptoms. And so she kind of goes to explain how there's like medicines that like, you know, help you focus more, that sort of thing.
Though personally, I can't really recommend that for somebody as young as Snalien. However, that is an option if you want to pursue it. I can write you a referral to a proper doctor because, of course, I'm not a psychiatrist. I can't prescribe you anything. So just that is one option. But the main one I want to get into is what's called behavioral therapy. And what that is it's pretty much just it's a more talk therapy like this, and it's sort of going over certain strategies and sort of changes you can make to your lifestyle that will make it a bit easier for you to live your life, so to speak. So you mentioned like some of the trouble you've been having at school, like with forgetting things and homework assignments and stuff. But when we go over this, it can kind of help you strategies to kind of help you work with your disorder, so to speak. So that you'll be able to do the things you need to. And a big part of that, especially for ADHD in children, is getting the parents involved. Because, of course, you want your dad here to support you as best he can and help you kind of figure all of this out. So, I'm still working on the specifics, but I am putting together a sort of treatment plan. And what that would amount to basically is both of you would come in maybe once a week or so, depending on your schedule, of course.
and we sort of go over these strategies, and she hands Angie the pamphlet. This one is kind of a good sort of primer sort of thing, just kind of a general list of things you can do. And the good news is, you might even be doing quite a few of these things already. And she goes into the list. There's yeah, a lot of stuff is like creating a routine is a big one, to like have the same routine every day, which I feel like Angie would probably have with her, like, you know, well, like you guys have kind of like an after school routine with the kids, right? Like, I know you mentioned like
no,
bedtime
he
story
hilariously.
every night,
I think
that
one
kind
of the reasons he's never had a problem
Right.
with his own definitely on the spectrum experience is because he left school very early because he couldn't stand it, and he just wanted to make things. So he went out and did that, and he basically had an apprenticeship on movies as soon as possible and being a stuntman, which always has a very strict schedule. Everybody knows when things are going to happen.
Right.
Unless something disastrous happens, like you break your arm on set, but you can work around that, it's fine.
Right.
So, yeah, he has a tight schedule and always has. He's obsessed with time. He has this pocket watch, stopwatch, which is always counting down. We haven't explored that thing, but like that's what his entire life is like, is waiting for the next thing, and he is like, rigid about that. So yeah, he's got a schedule. They got schedules.
That's definitely
for
one
sure.
aspect. Yeah. So yeah, basically what she's trying to convey is that like there's this like, you know, little pamphlet, like this is kind of general stuff that you can do, and of course like if they do agree to like, you know, do more sessions with her, she'll go into more detail about like each of these different kinds of things. But the good news is she also trying to convey is that like, you know, he's like kind of already doing some of this stuff, and that's really really good for his kids.
Accidentally winning the game. Okay.
Well, because he's a very good
Luigi
dad.
wins by doing nothing.
Luigi wins by doing nothing.
Yeah. Well, no, quite the opposite, because he's doing everything for his kids. I think she even says as much. Like,
Yes.
I think the good news is, it's definitely gonna take some adjustment, but I think you're gonna be okay, because you're very lucky. You've got a very good dad looking after you already. So I think you're gonna be just fine, Snalien.
I mean, yeah. I got Dad on my side. Of course I'm gonna be fine.
Definitely glowing with pride there. He's just you guys. Duh.
I'm kind of imagining like Snalien and Minty, like they kind of get into this like sort of tangent where like they're both like just talking about how good a parent he is. Like for a little while, like they just keep going back and forth, and he just keeps glowing brighter and brighter.
Yeah.
110%.
Yeah. All right, but yeah. So yeah, how are they both kind of feeling about like the options she's kind of presented, like with the whole like the treatment plan and whatnot, like the behavioral therapy? What's their thoughts?
Snailing is definitely for it. They're still sort of looking at Dad like, I don't want to take up too much of his time though. Like.
Contrary-wise, the engineer is like absolutely already in his mind mapping around what he already has and sorting it out. And you know, he has actually slowed down a little on the whole making movie things. Things have been happening that are not as related to movies as he ideally like, and he's trying to sort out that as well. But yeah, he's also enjoying seeing people like Tobias and Larry and Charlie and Jack and Prim starting to take an interest in creating movies. And he's like more than happy to facilitate that, which will free up his schedule to spend more time with his new adopted kids, which he's, you know, so happy about. He's still so deliriously happy about that.
Aww. But yeah, no, that's perfect. It sounds like so that's like all pretty much settled. So I think they probably like talk for a little bit about like, you know, scheduling and stuff, like okay, which days are good for you, like just stuff they can do off screen that the audience doesn't care about.
Yeah, they do the technical stuff, but yeah, the engineer is definitely going to reassure Snalien that again, that he always has time for his kids. The point of his time is for his kids, basically. The reason he makes movies is for his kids, for the people of the world, who are kind of his kids, you know.
Snalien, if I am any sort of obstacle, I will die.
Oh.
Engineer, everything is for my kids. Fight!
God, amazing. I think that's kind of. I don't know if there's anything else like the game would want to discuss. I think they're also. I don't know if Minty would bring up like again like the whole thing, like the thing they briefly should be talked with Snalien like about like if you have a problem like it's okay if you want to like talk to someone, especially because like they're going to be doing the sessions with her now. They should just kind of reassure her that like
I just remember her. This therapy is gonna be. It's for you. So if at any point, like during one of our sessions, you have something you need to share with me, please feel free to do so because it is my job to listen to you and help you with this sort of thing. So you are not a burden on me at all if you need to share that sort of thing with me.
Snalien does definitely go like nod, but in a way that's much more confident than
Right.
their like just sort of listening nod.
exactly. Yeah, because I think it's definitely
So
like
they
yeah, it's kind of a valid thing to like sort of worry about like there's certain things you don't really want to share with like your family members or friends, like even though you're close, like you kind of don't feel comfortable kind of like putting that on them and like because they may not even be equipped to like help you with that. But that's a good thing about therapy is that you have someone who like it's their job to like listen to this and help you with that. So it can be kind of a relief. Like you can share things that you might not be comfortable like sharing with everyone else So
Snalien definitely like starts nodding harder like if I'm ever a burden to my family, I'll die. She's gonna get better. I swear she's gonna
Absolutely.
get better.
that's definitely
That's
something to
another
work
level.
on.
That's for another therapy session.
Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, so I think we've like pretty much covered everything.
Snalien, the least burdensome character.
Absolutely. Yeah. She's so lightweight, like she's not a burden at all. You can just like pick her up easy. It's like lifting a few grapes.
All right, that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, I think like they
Yeah,
just
same.
we kind of fade out on them, just kind of like discussing this this sort of stuff, like the technical stuff, and that session probably ends with a hug as well as it always does. So
Oh yeah, totally.
of course.
Oh, so many hugs.
So many
Yeah,
hugs.
so many hugs.
All right.